What's up, everybody? We're back for a special episode, super special episode. They're all special, but like this one's like special. Like cue sparkles and I don't know, crazy graphics and I don't know, scene cuts. I don't know, whatever you want to put in here because we are not alone. Of course, we have Jessica here, Kyle's here. Dylan could not be with us today because he's in the middle of moving, so he probably is in a box somewhere himself. I don't know.
Excuses.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just, I don't know. I think he was intimidated by today's guest. He's like, I just don't know if I can handle the pressure of it all. But we miss him. I know he really wanted to be here. We are blessed, hashtag blessed, to have our guy, Luke Stauffer, fullback for Lexington Sporting Club, joining us for this episode. Luke, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Thank you guys for having me on. Been a long time coming. So, yeah, very much excited to have a good conversation with you all.
Yeah, we're super psyched. You're the first player out of like this new year to join us, so it's kind of like monumentous occasion right now. Yeah, it's kind of special, you know.
Yeah.
No, we way appreciate it, man. We know that you guys are super busy, and it takes a lot to do what you guys do. So taking the time to join us on this is big deal, especially letting the fans get to know who you are and all of that. So
yeah, I mean, likewise for you guys. I mean, the amount that you all do for the club is immense. So it's my pleasure, really. So I appreciate it.
We appreciated that a lot, man. So we like to get going. We got lots of questions for you, but we like to get going with some like just I don't know, weird icebreakery things every once in a while because it helps kind of just take a breath and get everybody in the flow. So I got like a weird one for you that I came up with.
Go for it.
Jessica and Kyle couldn't stop me. I just went for it. So all right, if you could say that you had like one superpower, maybe mundane superpower, like real life, like it's something that you're just like, I can do this, and I don't know if a lot of people know I can do this, but I can, and I think it's kind of like one of those weird, quirky things.
Okay.
What would it be? So, like for instance, for me, I am like a human UV index meter. Like I could step outside and I can tell you spot on what the UV index is. It's actually way more useful than you might think, especially for those of us who need lots of sunscreen. But that would be mine. So, what would be yours, man?
Man, so immediately when you asked the question, I went like with unrealistic superpower.
Well, what is that? Tell us that first, then.
Oh, definitely speak to animals for sure.
That'd be a good one.
Easy.
That's actually my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife is like, always speak to animals. That would be number one, and I'm like, okay, cool.
For me,
that would be awesome.
That would be number one.
Okay, nice. So, do you have like a mundane one that people are just like? How do you know that? Or like, how can you do that? That's super weird.
Mundane superpower. Oh man. That's a tough one. We might have to come back to that one because
okay.
That one's tough.
I know it's always a weird one. It's just fun because like sometimes people have like the weirdest random facts and they're like, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I can do this, and this. And I'm like, what? So when is that useful? We can always
being bad at golf. I cook a little bit, but I wouldn't say that's a superpower.
Yeah, being bad at golf. We'll go with that. And then if you think of a good one, we'll circle back to it. Then maybe it'll like spring on you at one point. You're like, this is it. So now that we've kind of gotten this idea of what your actual superpower would be, I'm curious. I do want to know what would make you want to speak to animals if we're doing like real superpowers.
I don't know. I think that pets in general, instead of like just animals, I think they're incredible judges of character.
Yeah.
And I would love to see or hear that thought process, honestly. My sheepdog is very much a very harsh judge of character, and she is very rarely wrong. So,
what's her name?
Yeah.
Rory. Oh, she's the best. She's the best.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Hey, congrats on the win yesterday, Rory. It was a big one for the for the brand. I was going to say that's actually a great point when you brought that up because it was like, oh, talk to animals to out in the wild or whatever. But I actually was thinking in my head exactly what you just said because I was like, my dog, who recently passed, he was like the best judge of character, and it's like if he didn't like someone, I'm like, I don't like you because he doesn't like you. And it's like, it would be awesome to be like, what's going on through your little brain? And then there's other times where like, he's staring at a wall for 30 minutes. You're like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah, seriously.
going on up there.
And let's be real, we all make up noises, like voices for our pets. Like
Yeah,
if they were to have a certain way they spoke, like we kind of picture that in our minds. And so, yeah.
Made up songs, made up voices, everything.
Fun fact, Kyle's never, whenever his dog was alive, never invited us around. So I don't know if he was just trying to live in denial or what. Afraid of us being exposed.
Maybe he didn't want his dog to make the judge of character because he was kind of on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah, he's just like, let's just live in bliss.
Yeah,
I was afraid of what he would say, honestly. I was doing you all a favor.
Yeah, that's true.
But let's move us forward here into the interview. So originally from Owensboro, and I know there's a couple of us here as part of Crane Kicks that are from Kentucky, and then a couple that aren't from Kentucky. I'm myself from Louisville, so and obviously a lot of the fans that we have are Kentuckians.
Right.
You've done a lot of kind of jet setting around your career. What did you miss most about the Bluegrass, the Commonwealth, that you kind of enjoy being able to come back?
Aside from like my family, this is going to be so weird, but the last 2 seasons in the USL, I was in Las Vegas and El Paso, and I really miss like the foliage, like the trees and the grass, like that like mentally was really tough on me because like the scenery, like the colors were like very brown, sandish colors, and so I really miss like the grass. If that, I know that's really weird. I know that's
not weird.
I don't know, man. I love the smell of like cut grass. It's the best, and it just reminds me of home. So like I really think that was what I missed most, aside from family and friends and being more accessible to my people, obviously. So
I do think it's those little things you forget about until you're gone.
1,000.
And you're like, oh man, this is nothing like that I'm used to. So that's a great answer.
Yeah, I love it, and there's nothing wrong with that answer. That's actually just kind of perfect because it's just something about missing where you're from and just kind of those little quirks. It sets it all off. So you've been all kinds of places, right? So we mentioned your career taking you all over the world. You've been to Denmark, Germany, Netherlands. Maybe talk to us a little bit about how those places and experiences have shaped you as a player and a person.
Yeah, so my first experience going overseas was to the Netherlands. I went for a couple months. Went on trials with some big clubs there, and I think that was the first eye-opening experience for me as a player. I actually went with another Kentucky native who plays for the Columbus Crew, Omar Sadic.
Yeah.
So we embarked on that together. He stayed a little bit longer than I did, but that kind of just, I think, opened my eyes to the intensity of and the mentality of the player on a more worldly scale. Then once I went to a boarding school up in Minnesota and trying to figure out what I was going to do before going to Creighton because I was going to take a gap year. And a coach that I was friends with got in touch with my coach at Creighton and was like, look, there's a club in Denmark looking for Luke's position. Would you want to go? And I said 100%. I think that was like when I go back and like think about it, and when I've talked about it with my parents, it was like a no-brainer. And looking back on it, maybe a little bit reckless because I had never talked to the host family that I was living with. Like the club provided me with the host family. And I had spoken to them once on the phone. And they were like, look, the host dad, Lars, who I'm still very close with to this day, was like, I did the same thing in Oregon. I want my kids to have the same experience, flip side to what I had. I kind of want to pay it forward, and we would love for you to come stay with us. So I got off the plane. It's like a 15-hour flight with layovers and delays and whatnot. And they had a little bitty sign that had my name on it. And it was just like automatically, I was like, okay, I made the right decision. And I'm forever grateful for that experience. That was more of like, obviously I was playing. I was able to train with the first team. I was able to be on the bench for a couple of first team games. So that, but it was still more of like a life experience, I guess, where 3 years in Germany was more of like, okay, this is a job. You are playing to get a club promoted. You are playing to keep a career going. So a little bit different. But yeah, segueing into Germany. Germany was fantastic. I have a lot of respect for those people. I made some friends for life over there. Obviously, the soccer is extremely intense and people care a lot about it. I played for a club called Wacker Nordhausen. Unfortunately, they went bankrupt, but at the time, during the bankruptcy, we were first in the league and would have probably gotten promoted. And then I played 2 years for a club called Carl Zeiss Siena. That was an extremely traditional German club and a lot of history and a lot of fans, a lot of ultras. And that was kind of like the first taste of what it meant to play for a club in Europe. So
that's awesome. Out of all those places, was there one of them that like provided the biggest culture shock for you when you went there?
For sure, Jena. So Jena I don't want to give you guys wrong years, but I think in the 70s, early 80s, they made it to the European Championship against Roma. So that sort of history is always within the club. Like you have generations of fans that that continue coming to games, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, playing in a real derby. My dad came to watch us play against a club called Chemie Leipzig, who, I mean, I should have sent you guys some pictures, but I mean, just the atmosphere was insane. Like smoke everywhere. They've got like this Dortmund style kind of like wall, and that moment I was like, wow, this feels like what you see on TV.
It is really crazy when you see all that stuff and just that level of soccer fandom and culture in different areas of the world. And you're just like, what the heck? Like, how do we get there to that level, you know? And, you know, it's obviously something that's growing here. We're in its infancy, and, you know, maybe one day we'll have somebody, you know, jumping down from the rafters, parachuting onto the field with flares or whatever. I don't know, but it's really cool to see passionate fans that invested at that magnitude.
Sure. I mean, like there was a time in Jena where we were gunning for promotion. I think we lost out on promotion my last year there by 5 or 6 points. So it was a pretty, disappointing season, obviously. But yeah, I mean, we would have probably 800 or 900 ultras at every single game, away, home, doesn't matter. So being able to see that kind of support, I think after the World Cup happens here, I think that is going to absolutely bolster the how would you say it? I don't know, the fan engagement, maybe that would be a good way to put it, into predominantly the USL with all the news that's going on with the USL right now. Promotion, relegation, and then you've got the first division, see how that will look. So I think the USL and US soccer in general is in a pretty good way at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. There is like a ton of growth. Jessica, you want to do the?
Yeah. So in that sense, talking about promotion, relegation, what are your thoughts as far as if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that and what you feel like that means to USL, and just your general thoughts.
I mean, the first thing is it separates the USL from the other leagues, youth or professional, in the United States. That's probably the biggest. And I think if you kind of look back to when USL changed the wording from PDL to USL League 2, and then when they implemented USL League 1 championship. And so this was kind of, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not an expert, but I would assume that was a focal point of them doing that. So really over the last, how many, maybe 4 or 5 years, you've seen kind of like the structure of the league taking shape for this moment, which is such a cool thing. And obviously as a player, having some experience with promotion and relegation makes things that much more intense, makes for, in my opinion, a better fan experience. Every point matters. Obviously it still does. Obviously you want to go out and win every game. But yeah, with that little bit of promotion relegation, I think that just inadvertently heightens everything just a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I think ultimately for the game here, it's what needs to happen. I think fans want it. I think players want it. It's just like, how do you do it where it makes sense? Because ultimately Europe versus the United States, it's just different. And I think that the more we can figure out how to make it work on the league side, I guess, then ultimately that'll be better for players and fans. For sure.
Yeah, whenever we've talked about it on previous episodes, that's kind of like the similar thought process, is that, everyone's more invested in the overall results. And, we often talk about our different Premier League teams that we like, and we'll have side conversations about where our teams are in the table and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm curious, what kind of drew you to Lexington when the seasons were getting ready to get started?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the project in Lexington, it's no surprise. This is kind of where I wanted to be. I wanted to be closer. I haven't been living in Kentucky full time since I was 13. So obviously, I wanted to be back here. I wanted to be closer to my friends and family. So this project interested me because there was so much development, so much involvement from the owners, so much. Yeah, just everything was kind of like, we're going all in on this youth side, the women, the men's professional team. Now we've got a summer league team, USL League 2. Same with the women. So it's just like there's so much happening, and to get in on the ground floor, I think was something that was really, really pulled at sort of my heartstrings in a lot of ways.
It's so rare to have that opportunity to get in with a club whenever it's in its infancy like that. And then in a lot of ways you become even more cemented as a part of the history, because everybody remembers like those key moments, those key years. And then, you'll, from the beginning on, of course, everybody remembers like certain years based on their experiences and support and when they started paying attention. But then from there, it's more of like, well, which years did you win something? And then sometimes the other parts get a little bit lost. But being here, like in just year 3, that's still like so early that, players kind of tend to be remembered in a little bit of a bigger scope, I feel like, with fan bases, because, you have like your day one diehard fans that are there, and then it's going to build from there. But then those day one diehards are always going to be like, oh, do you remember this person? Do you remember that person? And it's kind of neat. And I'm sure it's exciting from a player perspective too.
Absolutely. And I think that when you look at the USL, you see more guys signing longer term contracts instead of normal just 1 year. So like, I think that just builds a little bit of continuity, obviously within the team, but also with the club. And I think that that's important to have those sort of kind of like retentions. Obviously, this was a rebuilding year, a lot of new faces, but I think that ultimately that is the thought process, at least in my opinion. And I think that we're doing a really good job on all fronts to kind of, how would you say it, put together that like healthy ecosystem for youth club,
building the foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, a more yeah, absolutely. Building the foundation of what it takes to ultimately have a successful club.
Yeah. I feel like you're just like a member of the pod because you're echoing a lot of the things we say. Secret member.
Honorary.
Yeah,
Honorary.
Stauffer's actually been running the show
Yeah.
behind the scenes the whole time.
He's got
You
too
guys
much
are way
hair
more
to be on this
talented than I
podcast.
am. Yeah.
He's got to work on up here.
It's
Just
true.
you shave this off, as you
I
can see
know.
Tyler and I,
No,
and then we
Yep.
just
see the
fill it
gray
in.
hair. My birthday's next Monday. You can see it.
Oh,
Whoa,
happy
next
early
Monday.
birthday.
That's
No,
the
thank
man.
you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, and as someone who was obviously part of the club way back when, all the way back in 2022, that was one thing that as someone who didn't grow up playing soccer, realized how big the youth side of the whole club and I mean, you said the ecosystem and all that, like the youth really is like part of the foundation, which I think is cool. And it's actually really cool to hear like players like yourself acknowledge that too, even at the highest level. So I mean, that's pretty cool.
I do think that Kentucky is a hotbed of talent, and I think that and I tell this to everybody. I think what we're doing here is so important because the young players can kind of see the women train, right? There's no guardrails. This is where the women are training. This is where the men are training, and so they can kind of see inadvertently that progression to what it takes to get to a first team or get to a professional contract. And to be able to do that at home, I think is super, super special. I know that if I were a kid growing up here now, this would be a dream come true. I mean, you've seen the stadium. Stadium's fantastic.
It is awesome.
The entire facility is just, I mean, what more could you want? And then on top of that, you've got the indoor facilities. I mean, come on, It's perfect.
Yeah, my son did a spring break camp at the indoor facility last week, and he absolutely loved it. And I was really impressed with it too. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So for you all specifically, and you touched on a little bit about a rebuilding year, and that's kind of just been part of the club, and I think the USL at large too, is each year teams kind of do a little bit of a reset, until you can really get that core. And there's obviously clubs in the around the league that have done a great job kind of building that core. So for you all, building chemistry, that relationship building, teammates, obviously you've only been together for a few months. But tell us how you all have kind of managed to do that, kind of build, even as new guys come in. Tell us about how you all have been able to build relationships as a team.
I mean, obviously, like you said, we haven't been together super, super long. So that I think with any team, that's a day-to-day process. But I do believe that this is a very special group. There are no real cliques. Everyone kind of just gets along naturally, which I don't think you find in a lot of places. So if you have that sort of off the field component and you have that personal relationship with someone, I think it's easier to go out on the field and play with them. We always kind of say like it's healthy to have a little bit of conflict. It's healthy to go through difficult moments, especially as a new group. Is talking to Speedy, talking to Marcus, who have wealth of experience in this league. They were kind of reiterating the same things that yes, we go out and we want to win every single game, but I think it's important to keep in the forefront of our minds that coaches, players, club, fans, everyone wants the same things. And I think that's an important component of this season, because the results will come. We feel like we're doing the right things. We obviously have a very, very talented coaching staff, a very young coaching staff that is so bought into us, and ultimately we have a group of guys that are bought into them and the idea. And what we want to accomplish. So I'm extremely optimistic. I'm extremely hopeful because I just know the people that are involved, fans, owners, front office, team, like it's too good of a group to not succeed. And I think that the results are going to come for sure.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think the fans feel it because,
Sure.
attendance has been something that the club has tried to work on for the past couple of years. And we've had our really up games and our really, really down games. And I feel like this is the first season where we've seen some stability in the
Sure.
attendance as far as
Yeah.
okay, there's not been that much of a swing from attendance from this game to this game to this game.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is because the fans feel you guys' effort on the field, and they're buying into
Sure.
you all as part of this club. So I think that that the fans can echo a lot of what you're saying as far as feeling that belief.
I mean, you all watch the games. We dominate a lot of instances and a lot of long period stretches of every single game, whether it's home or away. It's just we're echoing it in the locker room. These are eventually going to turn into points, starting with this weekend. Like we have too talented of a group to not, and the amount of work that's being put in, coaches and players and front office, it's really something special, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree. So thinking about kind of touched on game day a little bit. I always like to ask this question because I think it reveals a little bit more about players. Do you have any game day or even training day rituals or things that you have to follow to get ready, or are you just kind of loose about it and just whatever happens today happens today?
I've gotten to be more loose about it. I think the biggest thing for me is my diet. I try an intermittent fast a lot of the time, so I'm more of on a one meal a day type of person. And so I'm a really big believer that if my diet is good, then the output will also be good performance.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only big thing that I'm really a stickler on is my diet. But other than that, no, I adequate rest, hydration, just the normal boring stuff. Going to bed at 8 or 9:30. It's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the key stuff. The mundane stuff is what gets you what you need as far as results. Because I mean, as mundane as it sounds, it's also hard too because you have to have discipline and follow that type of regiment and do your thing. Yes, 100%. Very different, because sometimes we'll have players and they're just like, you know what? I always have to wear this one left sock, and I'm like, that's the most random thing I've ever heard in my life. But
hey, whatever works. Whatever works, right?
Whatever works. And then sometimes it's just a matter of, like you said, just making sure that you feel good. And, everything you're doing is just prepping you in a practical way for what you're about to do, which, makes perfect sense.
I mean, for us, we do so much prep during the week that it's kind of like guns a-blazing into the weekend. So as long as you're the soccer piece is there, the tactic piece is there. So on an individual basis, as long as you're feeling good, then no holds barred.
You'll do the thing.
Sure.
So I'm also curious, you've played for quite some time now.
Sure.
Do you have a memory out of your career that really stands out to you at this point where it's just that always just pops up? If somebody were to ask you to write a book about your career and one thing stood out to you, you'd have to put that in a chapter.
One thing that stands out. Probably any moment that actually 2 years ago at Louisville City, I was playing for Las Vegas, and we had about probably anywhere from 700 to 1,000 people from Owensboro come and watch. And that was cool. That was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So obviously being away from home for so long, anytime that my parents can make a drive, obviously my parents fly around to see me play. They did the same in college. even club when I was at Shattuck, St. Mary's. Any time where it's more accessible and easier for them is definitely like, ooh, this is fantastic. So to be closer is just great.
Yeah. Do you feel like you like play extra well whenever they're there?
Yeah, and my parents watch every game on TV, but for them to be there in person is just it's just a little bit extra, and yeah, it's definitely something I don't take for granted. Maybe I did when I was younger, but then you learn and you grow, and obviously it's just kind of like a full circle moment.
So as you've grown throughout your career, who's had the biggest influence on you as a player?
Oh, my dad, for sure. Our off-season training is the same. We do the same runs. We do the same ball stuff, just maybe at a little bit higher rate. It's always just me, him, and then my dog. So my dad runs an indoor futsal academy called Sports Tutor in Western Kentucky. And so,
oh, cool.
Yeah. So he does a lot with grassroots in the state of Kentucky, and has produced a lot of, or had a hand in producing a lot of Division I college players, professional players that have come out of this area. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and wants the best for every kid that walks through Sports Tutor. So so he's definitely probably had the biggest impact on me, just from like, it's just been year after year the same. And so it's a blessing to have somebody like that that's willing to get up with you at 5 a.m. and go run and put you through workouts and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So do you say your dog was work out with you all too?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can thank Rory for a little bit of this as well. Just another shout
True.
out.
And then, like, on the flip side, because obviously, like I said earlier, with progress, there's bound to be conflict. So whenever, obviously, me and my dad maybe get into it, or I disagree with a workout or whatever, then I come home, especially in the off season, and Mom is there. So like, having that yin and yang balance for me is definitely what's attributed to like my longevity, because my parents, they're fantastic. They're so good at like balancing each other out and knowing when to like push, pull, and kind of like leave things as they are. So yeah, super blessed for my family, for sure.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I think, a lot of times we just assume because the player plays a sport, they're just like all about that sport. Do you have time? Do you watch other teams and leagues and clubs around the country in terms of soccer, or do you just kind of tune out when you're not playing?
I mean, yeah, I watch predominantly USL and third division Germany, because that's where most of my friends are playing. Because obviously, like, you watch your friends and you want your friends to do well on a more personal basis. Obviously, like, if you're playing against them, then it gets a little bit hairy. But at the end of the day, especially in the USL, we're under one umbrella. We want the best for every player. Like the players union, we want the entire experience to be okay. Obviously, we're competing for sure, but there is that human piece to it as well. I watch a lot of golf, play a lot of golf. Also, like, getting into pickleball. I have a friend that plays in Owensboro, and plays like competitive pickleball, which is crazy.
Dang.
Yeah. He's full into it. And they were at the in Lexington this weekend. They had a big tournament, and they went 6-1, lost in the semifinals as an amateur team. So
wow,
I'm gonna start getting into that, and then tennis.
Nice.
Yeah. So
where's your favorite track? Where's your favorite golf course in Lexington to play?
So I haven't played that much in Lexington. I'm extremely spoiled, because a very close friend of mine is a member at Valhalla. So,
oh man,
I know.
All right, never mind.
I'm not even a golf guy, and I know about that.
Yeah, and so, like, that's obviously like way better than what I am, but it's he's one of the best people I've ever met. So, yeah, whenever we go golfing, we sometimes go there, and that's probably my favorite. That's easily the best course I've ever played for sure.
Yeah. Right on. Right on. Well, okay. So in terms of favorites, do you have a favorite like food spot in Lexington? I know you're a big diet guy. Maybe one. Where are you eating that one meal? Is it somewhere in Lexington or is it?
Probably Taste of India on Nicholasville Road.
Oh,
Okay.
Big Indian
yeah,
food,
Yeah.
for sure. I'm trying to still make my way. I've been to Tandoor. I've been
yeah,
to
that's
Taste
a
of
good
India.
one.
I need to go to Taj. It's my next one. I was gonna go to there today, but I did not. So that's still on the list.
Indoor
Man.
is the one over off of Manowar, right?
Yes.
Like as you're heading towards Richmond Road
Yes.
area. Okay, yeah, they're really good.
It is
I went
really
there with a friend, and like not for several weeks after that, anytime I was driving by there, I was craving Indian. It's so
great,
good.
great lunchtime buffet. Really, really good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Indian food's so good. I have a buddy that I went to high school with, and we would go over there all the time. And we'd open the cupboards, and there would just be these giant jars of like all kinds of seasonings and curries and stuff. And his mom would be like, "What do you want us to have tonight?" And I'm like, I don't know, any of it, all of it. Can we do each of these?
Oh
And it
my
was
gosh,
always so good.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I can always go for Indian. Always.
Easy. It's not like, yeah. They just got it going on. Like it's great food all around for sure.
Oh, so good. So, kind of thinking about you as a player
Sure.
and where you are in your career, what's like kind of a goal or a set of goals that you have for yourself for the future?
For the future, I think what sticks out to me is leaving a legacy that is ultimately positive, having a positive impact on people and the clubs that you play for. Obviously, making that pathway for kids in Owensboro that says, hey, you're from a small town, but with hard work and dedication, you can kind of do anything. That's kind of what my family or my parents instilled in me and my siblings, or my siblings and I, that anything is possible. And obviously, I'm forever indebted to my parents because of how much they sacrificed for each one of us. And but yeah, just kind of like how you want to be remembered, I guess. This past 2 weekends, we were back in El Paso, and you play somewhere and you interact with people, and obviously you try to be the best person that you can, and obviously you're playing, but to go back and see like the impact that you had on a place, I mean, that one of the coolest moments in my career for sure. A lot of people still remembered me, and it was a fantastic feeling personally.
Yeah, that's one thing that stood out to me whenever it was announced that you were coming here. I actually did have a lot of people from El Paso that were telling me, they're like, "You guys are lucky. That's a great get." So that's always a really good sign when we're getting a new player and we have other fans like going out of their way to let us know, like, all right, this is solid.
Yeah, I mean, that, like here, that's a club full of great people that are wanting to do the best that they can for not only the club but really the city. Their owners are extremely bought into the Borderplex, so whether that be Juarez or El Paso, they do a ton on the youth side. They do a ton of engagement for the youth, a ton of scholarships for the youth programs, so that just kids can play. And yeah, I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about El Paso. It's a really cool city. Like, it gets a bad rap, but I like the culture there is just fantastic.
That's awesome. That's something I was actually wondering too, if there was like a city that really stood out to you aside from Lexington. So that answers that one, man. That's neat.
El Paso was really cool. Obviously, Jena in Germany, when you're somewhere for more than 1 year, that holds kind of like a special place in you. So Vancouver, when I got drafted, that's
oh yeah,
man, yeah. It's I mean that is
I've never been there, but yeah, I've never been there, but just like the pictures alone, you're like, what the heck? Is that a real place?
I mean, you can ski like Whistler's an hour. You can go to the beach. You can get great seafood. You can get city life. You can go to the mountains. Like they've got everything going on up there. So Vancouver was really, really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. That was great. I loved those answers. It felt like I said half the answers. I was like, wait, we talk about this stuff, and it's really important for us as a young club, for fans to kind of know who's playing for us and who's putting on that badge. Because I think that's what wins fans more than even wins, in my opinion. That's just me. I would go to bat for any player that I'm like. They're here for the right reasons over somebody that, is Lionel Messi 2.0. You know what I mean? I think that's what really stands out to a lot of us and is important for where we are as a club, particularly.
No, 100%. And I think with smaller clubs, so predominantly in the USL, making the experience more humanizing, I think is extremely, extremely important and crucial to on-field success, because I think that the more people that you have engaged, so the more people that are coming to games, the more people that are taking an interest of what is going on, the more it pushes the players to play that much harder. So we talked about attendance a little bit. Like I forgot what game. I think it was might have been after Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been after Indy. I walked away saying like, wow, like that was like it's a loud atmosphere. Like it's not just people going to games, because I'm sure you guys have been sitting in the stands at any game, and it's just kind of like it is a spectator's sport or whatever it may be. And this time it was like, oh, these people are engaged in what's going on and want to cheer their team to win. And so like that was really cool for me. So hats off to you all.
Hey, we're trying. Kyle especially knows there were some days at Toyota Stadium where it was kind of like we were watching the Masters, and everybody was just like,
yeah,
great job, you everybody. And then I'm over here losing my mind.
To
I'm
make
like,
noise.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. But it's important, like it really is. Like like putting I mean, obviously you guys go to the games, but seeing like the product that we're putting on the field, like it's a very attractive style of soccer. It's engaging, it's attacking, it's really, really nice on the eyes to like watch. So it's I think that obviously like attributes that to it being engaging, obviously, but yeah,
100%
cool.
agree. It's part of the process, and we're getting there, and you guys are helping us get there, and we're trying to help you guys get there, and it's just all a nice little symbiosis,
Yeah, everyone's on the same page. Everyone's wanting the same thing, so it's only hit the grindstone. Great opportunity this weekend against Monterey Bay. Against Monterey Bay, who's they've taken care of business. They've taken care of business. They've looked good. So like to get, not that we were off track, but to make a statement win at home. This is more than a great opportunity, which I think that we can take full advantage of for sure.
100%. Well, Luke, we don't want to take up any more of your time, man. You were already gracious lending the time that you did. I know that you're busy. You guys got a lot of preparation to do. Like you said, we got a tough game coming up at home that we're going to win. I feel 3 points. It's just, I feel it in the atmosphere. Or it could be allergies. I don't know. One or the other. But I'm saying 3 points. That's what matters. But, it's great. And, I hope everybody listens to this and they feel reaffirmed and reinvigorated to support this squad and support you and every other player out there as we kind of go on this quest against these other teams and be the best in the West. West-ish.
Being the
Yeah.
best beast.
You thought you were getting away from like that whole like Pacific Mountain Time
Yeah.
situation, but we
Oh,
drug
man.
you right back in, man.
every away game's freaking 3 hour time
man.
difference. Love
I
it.
know. I always look at it and I'm like, it's a 11 o'clock start time, huh? Well, let's go. Let's get that caffeine rolling.
My parents were dealing with like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. kickoffs for a long time, you know.
Whoa, yeah. That's rough.
That's
No
intense.
lie, man.
It is.
Yeah. That's
It's
great
almost
parents right there,
almost
though.
like they are like my biggest supporters, you know. It's almost
It's
like,
weird.
or they just feel obligated, which is also
Yeah.
could be the thing.
We'll say it's the same.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what I say.
if you can't wake up at 3 a.m. to watch soccer for your kid, then what can you do, right?
Exactly.
Go to work tired. You'll be fine. That's great, man. Well, Luke, thanks again, man. We really, really appreciate all of this. And, we're going to be rooting for you hard this season, man.
Thank you very much. And, hopefully we'll make you guys proud for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody out there listening, make sure you guys get out to games. We need to keep those vibes high. We need tons of people out at the stadium losing their mind. You don't have to yell as loud as myself or Dylan or Jessica
Dylan or me.
Kyle, or any of us. It's okay. You don't have to feel obligated to do that. I did get like a weird stare from a lady the other day because I was like screaming after you guys scored, and I was just like, and she just like stared at me, and I'm like, sorry, I'm really passionate about this.
Sorry, man.
But that's okay. This is what these outlets are for. So everybody get out there, support, bring your friends. Bring your friends, bring your friends' dogs, because we have pups at the pitch. So do all the above. But you know what it is. Until next time, come on, you Greens.